Start recording. Hi and good evening. This is my first OBS devlog. We are live looking at the tabletop view. Of course, the tabletop view at the moment is just my hands. So I wanted to spend some time talking about the things, there you are, the things that are coming up in terms of what's new for kill count and the sorts of things that I'm looking towards in the future. Kill count is honestly in a very playable state. I tried putting in a little bit of counterplay with the cards, aim assist and then forced disconnect. Those created a lot of even just playing solo, that immediately created a play pattern of something that's not what I was wanting, which is it created a lot of stalling play styles. So what does a stalling play style mean? I mean something that involves minimal movement and starts looking more seriously at the angles for visibility when you're trying to target enemy units. I'm not personally a fan of that for this game because this game is not one where any other part of the game is designed to be any sweatier than just a casual game of like Nerf darts with your friends outside in the park. It's meant to be exciting and exhilarating and fun, maybe like a game of laser tag. It's not meant to be a very tactical operation where you move very carefully. So having cards where you can immediately shut down another player's turn, that's a bit of a feel bad, especially when it's so frequent in the deck, unless someone decides to burn it. That is a choice. But that choice feels like it's putting the onus on the player to make the nice decision for everyone else at the table. And that's like a social thing rather than the game designed to actually be using that card. So the short end of it is I took it out. I think there's a time and a place for having very competitive style card decks in the equipment deck, but for now I want things like Jump Pack and Brutality and Glory. Glory is kind of cool, actually. Let's talk about Glory for a second. So Glory is a new card that I added, playing around really with the idea of being able to burn cards. Now, as a side note, I keep using the term burning for cards, and I understand that might be kind of confusing because there is a terrain effect called burning. So I'm looking at a new colloquialism to kind of call the idea of turning a card into power. One idea I was having is dusting, because that's very common in especially digital trading card games. So if you can dust a card and get the resource back, maybe dusting is the best way to go, or liquefying or energizing or some sort of verb that has a bit of a gamer juice vibe to it. But yeah, so Glory is exciting to me because being a one-cost card, it's our simple, you can play it even when you're fully equipped. So I can have my Pyro with a Jump Pack and Brutality set up, and they can be rocking and ready to go. I can still play my Glory because it's 1 point. And I'm wanting to do the risk reward for early game versus late game. So in the early game, this cheap card kind of gets you a little extra edge. And when you dust it or burn it, it becomes 2 power instead of just the 1. So you're getting that extra amount just to kind of fuel you forward, hopefully in the early and mid game as like a fun convenience for finding a creative way to use this card that otherwise is kind of dead in hand. But then at the end of the game, I want to kind of reward you, especially if you had kind of a dud hand and you got a couple of Glory cards. And if you're getting these lower cost cards, that might be sort of holding you back compared to your competition on the board. So I want to allow you to be able to use Glory as a way to get ahead in scoring at the end of the game. Anywho, that's kind of what's going on with some of the cards. We're renaming some cards, like the Power Weapon is now the Giga Gauntlet because I think the Power Fist is maybe a little too recognizable. But the Giga Gauntlet is something that I'm very, I enjoy. I've already called it the Giggle Gauntlet at least once, so I do wonder what folks are going to think about that. The other kind of cards, just talking through cards here, is I added in more 4-cost cards. So some of them include a forced restart. That is a bit of a shift on a previous 4-cost card. So forced restart is 4 power, and as an action, shuffle all equipment cards into the equipment deck and deal 5 equipment cards to each player and discard this card after use. It's pretty similar to a card from 3.5, but in 3.75, I want it to be action-based now that we have that action point system. Now that we have the 3 AP that you can use on your turn, this just feels like a nice codification, and it isn't an immediate thing. And again, discard after use, because otherwise that would just be infuriating. That's something that I'm also really looking into, is the balance. How does the balance feel if you're playing this game? How does it feel? Let me know. Between the character abilities and then, of course, your card power level. What's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean. Anyways, another one is Time Warp. This is classic. We are keeping this from 3.5 as a move action. Again, see the codification, keeping it as an action. Take another turn after this one and discard it after use. I like that this is, again, it's a discard for 4 cost. Something I am wanting to maybe think is, how can I maybe make this work better with the AP system? Like maybe if you have this, you get an extra AP on your turn, because that's going to make it pretty broken and people are going to want this card, and maybe then you don't have to discard it. So that's something I'm looking at for Time Warp. Let me know your thoughts in the Discord. And of course, we've added in a 2-cost card, Change Terrain. Since terrain is such a pivotal part, especially terrain effects, being able to change that visible terrain marker to something else on a die roll. So Change Terrain, 2 power, as a move action, again, making it an action. Select a visible terrain marker, roll 1d6, and on a 5 up, change the effect of the marker to the terrain type of your preference. I feel that's exciting and interesting, but let me know if you want more juice there. So those are some of the cards that we've added in. Oh, New Game Plus, for example, is New Game Plus is 4 power. Reset your kill goal, gain +1 ATK, +1 def, +1 damage. I don't know why I say ATK. I just do. It's attack. That's combining 3 of our lower cost cards, and it's kind of like a 3-for-1 for the price of 2. So that's also something that I'm very curious to see and play. I've been enjoying this card in my personal playtest games, just because it feels powerful and impactful, but in a really sneaky way. Because I'm not thinking about, normally if you have plus ATK and plus defense, then you don't also have plus damage. So usually you get 2 of those 3, and this is giving you a bonus in all 3. So it's kind of sneaky. It gets in there. I earlier today had a game where the Pyro had this, and I kept thinking their defense was lower than it was, and attacking even though they had cover. And so I was going for those 5s instead of when I was thinking I was going for 4s on the die. Anyways, I think that's most of it. Oh, Supply Drop is another 4 cost. As an action, discard this card, and then each player gives you a card from their hand. I like this in terms of like card games like Rummy or Oh, Thank You for That sort of style of play. But I do wonder if I had this in hand, or if I put it on my card, right? I put it on my Pyro, right? I do feel like I would use this action whenever I saw someone had like 1 card in hand, because they've either got like a reroll, which is great. I need that. I want that, and I don't want them to have it. Or they've got like a really good, powerful card. And I just because of the way things work, it's like it's so often not just a bust card I'm finding with that. So I kind of wonder, like, it's also one of those cards that scales, so it's better with the more opponents. So if you're playing like the max 6-player game, you're getting a full hand of cards off of 1 action, and then you can immediately burn those as another action. So or dust them. I'm wondering, like, so at the least, if you had no cards in hand and you got 5 and you dusted all of them, you'd get a minimum of 5 power. And you'd still have 1 action point remaining. So that's why I'm like, is this too much? Should it be on a die roll? Should it be a visible model? You know, like as an action, take a card from the player of a model who's visible to your character. I don't know. Let me know what you think. So yeah, that's kind of updates to cards. Updates to terrain. I'm thinking of bringing back jump packs. Jump packs are from, I want to say, version 2. They are just exactly like it's a jump pad. You get on it, it launches in the air a certain distance. And I feel like because gravity as a terrain effect is so specific now, where it's a D6 roll and you either get a reduction to your speed or a bonus to your speed for the rest of that turn. I feel like because that's so specific, and that teleport really is like you go in, you go out, or you can use that teleport for visibility. I'm kind of like, now that the card Overwatch is in the, Overwatch is in the game. It's a 1-cost card that does Overwatch, the mechanic that you see in video games all the time where you can shoot back on someone else's turn by playing the card. But because Overwatch is in the game, I kind of want to see about jump pads, you know, because you jump on it, you launch yourself in the air, suddenly you're a visible target, big risk, but that gets you up in the air and you can see other things too that maybe you might not have been able to before. I think a way that I'm thinking about that is Oasis from Overwatch, like that map, or Doom had some of those jump pads, or Quake had some of those jump pads. But Oasis from Overwatch, I always loved playing a support character, getting on those jump pads, especially if I was Mercy and had a glide ability. And I could jump on that, go up, and just glide, connect with my squad. Of course, there was the risk. There's a Reaper right behind me coming to shotgun me in midair. But I kind of want to see if we can get that on the board for kill count, you know, because I think that would be exciting. So that's terrain. Oh, we also updated radiation. Radiation is a lot simpler, hopefully. Let me know what you think, because radiation was one of those ones where for me, the difficulty with designing radiation is because once your character is irradiated, everyone is going to be irradiated. And while that can be fun, it can also feel kind of bad if you're trying to play tactically and not get that, you know, the negative effects of it. So I've changed it so now it's a D3. You go into the space, it's a D3. So roll a D6, divide the number by 2, round up. So this is going to be 2, 3, 3. This is 3 rounds. So you have 3 of your turns. You're going to be ticking down, right? So this is my 3rd turn. End of turn, it goes to 2. Next turn, end of turn, goes to 1. Next turn, end of turn, I'm done. But during that time, anytime I dust or I gain power in any way, I gain an extra power. So it's great if you're really just needing a little edge, you're willing to run the risk. And the risk is if you roll a 1, you're dead. So I like that idea because it is a 1 in 6 chance, and you're probably rolling at least 1d6 per turn if you're moving, taking an action like attacking or dusting, or if you're moving on to another terrain space, you're probably going to roll a d6. And I feel like that's not such a big risk, that it's more of an, oh, that happened when it happens, kind of like how burning is like, oh, that happened in a good way for rolling a 5, because you dodge the damage on either end. Okay, that's terrain. Talking, let's see, do we want to talk character cards? Yeah, let's talk character cards. So an update to character cards that I've done is we now have 6 playable cards. My goal is to have 12, but I'm okay with 6 for now because it's a 6-player game at most. Or at least I will be designing it to be a 6-player game. Put as many people on a board as you want. We have our soldier, our starter character. That's the one I want to have like fun. I if we were going to rank complexity, I want Soldier to have the opportunity to be the easiest character to use with the ability to have a high skill ceiling in deploying your barricades and using your trigger happy to confirm those kills. So let's talk Soldier. Soldier, you have HP 4, Defense 3. Now, notice that HP 4, Defense 3, we're no longer using the flat HP 3, Defense 4 for all characters. We are going back to the idea of having either between 3 and 5 hit points and between 3 and 5 base defense. We are also dropping the term wounds. We're going back to hit points and damage. Wounds was too simplistic, and it actually was causing confusion. I was noticing during playtests, people were saying things like, oh, if I gain a wound, does that hurt me or help me? What does that mean? So if you're dealt a wound versus you gain a wound, well, now I'm using two different words. I might as well just say you gain 1 HP, you take 1 damage, that sort of stuff. Anywho, terms aside, we have a 2 cost and a 4 cost. We're still keeping the 2 cost and the 4 cost abilities on all characters. It is working great. It's always worked. I don't see a reason to change yet. I think in the future, having a character that was a 1 and 5 or a 3 and 4 or like variable power costs for abilities could be interesting. But I like having the balance because then it's just, there's already the variability of hit points and defense. So at least if it's how much, if they're sitting with 2 open, they might pop their character ability. So, excuse me. Soldier. 2 power ability is Set 'em Up. Set 'em up. During a move action, again, AP system is in place. Place a 1x2 wall piece within 1 of your base. And when I'm saying these numbers, it's inches. So 1 inch by 2 inch wall piece within 1 inch of your base. I'm still excited by that because that you can use to implement temporary cover. I haven't put a limit on the number of walls that you can set up on the field, mostly because during play, you see about 3 to 4 in a game. I don't usually see someone every single turn putting down 2 walls for 4 power a turn for the 4 rounds that this game usually takes. Then for 4 cost, it's trigger happy. So your ultimate is trigger happy. As an attack action, attack twice, and then move a number of inches up to the total damage dealt. I tripped over myself there. So for 4 power, trigger happy. As an attack action, attack twice, and then move a number of inches up to the total damage dealt. I'm very interested in this because you could possibly hit someone. You could confirm a kill and hit a third person because it's as an attack action, attack twice. Great. If I had 8 power, I could do that twice a turn. So I could attack 4 times on my turn, essentially. That's a lot of damage. So I'm really excited to see like explosive turns from Soldier if someone goes that way. But that brings us to our new thing, our QC, our quest criteria. All characters now have a quest, and I'm just using the Soldier as an example so we don't go on forever. But the quest criteria is to defend against 2 attacks using cover bonuses provided by, you guessed it, Set 'em Up. So all of the characters have a quest criteria that is linked to using their 2 cost ability at least 2 times. This is a way to encourage use of the character card features along with equipment, because you're burning equipment or dusting it. See, I don't even know the term anymore, but I might go with dusting, but I'm going to stay with burning for now, just for my own sanity. And then once you've completed that criteria, well, okay, what happens? You get your quest passive. You get something that it's a big buff. Something I really love about board games from Games Workshop like Warhammer Quest is that your character cards will flip over when you gain enough inspiration, and they'll have an empowered or inspired or something side, and that will be an improved character. It's almost like having a mid-game level up. And of course, at the end of play for Warhammer Quest, that resets. So it's every game you're working to level up mid-game, which I think is really exciting and fun. And that's something that I wanted to have, and something that, like, in playtesting, people wanted. They wanted the opportunity, when I was talking with folks, to be able to have their character, have a concept for their character, and work towards a separate, unique goal, like a quest, and get something from it, get a reward, so that they have an idea of what they want to be doing besides just killing everything. So, of course, these are all going to be, killing each other because it's deathmatch game, but trying to find a fun, unique spin on it that's to character. So, what is the soldier's quest passive? What do they unlock? And by the way, quest passive and quest criteria, that's all these terms are placeholder. So, by all means, if you have a better idea, let me know. So, knock them down. Going back to set them up, knock them down. When you use set them up, gain +2 attack until the start of your next turn. So you set them up for 2 power. You trigger happy for 4 power. That's a move action and an attack action. You still have 1 AP. You can use to burn if you need that energy. Or power is the word I'm looking for. And you're going to get +2 attack on that trigger happy, which is huge. It's absolutely huge. So this is great if you're staring down a high defense target, because you can just turn a corner, protect your 6, and take them out. So that's some of the complexity in Soldier that I hope, and again, Soldier as a term is placeholder, but that's some of the complexity that I hope people will start to see under the hood for these kinds of characters, even though at the very beginning, it's just place a wall. When you move, or when you attack twice. And then as you fulfill your quest, you get to know your character a little more. You get to do more stuff. So we've got 5 others: Ninja, Omen Seer, Berserker, Pyro, and the Gearhead. And we'll talk about those another time. So I think as we're coming up on a little less than 25 minutes, I think that might be where I want to cut it for now, for this devlog. But I'm really excited about where we are. We now have a Discord. The Discord is very small, very quiet. It's mostly me. And I'm okay with that. But I'm really excited to getting more people playing the game, trying the game. I think the next big focus that I want is to just get data on what is it like playing with an Overwatch card in this character deck. What is it like playing with quest criterias and quest passives? I want at least 10 games that I'm not playing, that I get to just observe before I'm going to feel comfortable really making a judgment call on if Overwatch should stay or not. Because as excited as I am for that idea, there is also a beauty and simplicity in I move, I attack, you move, you attack. I don't have to worry about someone attacking me back on my turn. So yeah, anyways, if you see this and you watch to the end, thank you so much for your attention, your patience, your grace. I'm using a new setup. As you can see, it's no longer me talking at my Logitech web camera that cannot record anything audio-wise in any sort of quality. I'm learning. I'm learning a lot. And I think that's great. I think that's part of the journey of game design, is the joy of not knowing what the hell you're doing, and the infuriating joy of fixing a problem once you find what the problem is and you can figure out how to find a solution. So for example, before I could record this, I had to do a clean reinstall of all of my graphics driver software drivers because they were out of date, but they didn't want to update. Clean reinstall time. And it worked. It worked. So, always look on finding solutions, finding a different avenue. Sometimes you really do just need to clean reinstall it. But for now, I think kill count does not need a clean reinstall. I think Kill Count is in a pretty fun place, and I hope you try it. I hope you print out the character cards and give it a shot at home, because I would love to know what you're thinking. Toodles.